Once upon a time, it was a bright Monday morning in Lagos, and everyone in the Smith family was in a rush. The alarm clock didn't ring, and Mr. and Mrs. Smith were hurrying to get ready for work. Amid the rush, they almost forgot to wake up their daughter Zoe. Zoe, an active 8-year-old child with big dreams. She quickly get dressed up in her school uniform. Zoe, hurry up, we are late, Mr. Smith called out, grabbing his handbag and car keys. I'm coming, Mom, Zoe replied, putting her books into her bag. She grabbed a quick bite of toast and rushed out to the car. The drive to the school was chaotic. Lagos traffic was always a mess, and today was no different. Smith honked the horn impatiently as they moved forward. Don't worry, Zoe, we'll get you to school on time, Mr. Smith assured his daughter, although he seemed more concerned about being late for his own meeting. Finally, they arrived at Bright Future School. Zoe kissed her parents goodbye and ran inside, excited to see her friends and teachers. She loved school and was always eager to learn new things. The day passed quickly with fun lessons, break time games, and a special art class where Zoe drew a colorful picture of her family. As the final bell rang, she packed her bag and went to the school gate to wait for her parents. Minutes turned into an hour, and Zoe's parents didn't show up. The school gate was almost empty, with just a few kids waiting with their guardians. Maybe they are stuck in traffic, Zoe thought, trying to stay positive. But soon, the school security guard, Mr. Tunde, approached her. Zoe, it's getting late. Are your parents coming? He asked with concern. Zoe nodded. I don't know. They are usually here by now. Why don't you wait in the office? It's safer, Mr. Tunde suggested. But Zoe, determined and a bit adventurous, decided otherwise. She didn't want to bother anyone and thought she could make her way home herself. I know the way home, Uncle Tunde. I'll be fine, she said with a smile. Mr. Tunde hesitated but finally agreed. All right, but be careful. Zoe nodded and started her journey home, unaware of the dangers that lay ahead. Zoe walked confidently along the familiar street, her school bag bouncing on her shoulders. She hummed a tune she learned in music class, feeling proud of herself for being so independent. She had walked the streets many times with her parents, so she felt she knew the way well enough. As she walked, she noticed how different everything looked without the hustle and bustle of the usual traffic. The street seemed quiet, but Zoe brushed off any feeling of unease and kept going. I'll be home soon, she told herself. Mom and Dad will be so proud of me. But soon, Zoe reached a crossroad she didn't recognize. She paused, trying to remember which way to go, left or right. She took a deep breath and chose the left path, hoping it was the right decision. As she walked further, she realized she was in an unfamiliar neighborhood. The houses looked different, and there were no familiar landmarks. Panic started to creep in. Maybe I should have gone right, Zoe thought, feeling a lump form in her throat. She looked around for someone to ask for directions, but the streets were empty. It was getting late, and the sun was beginning to set. Her heart pounded in her chest as she walked faster, hoping to find a familiar face or place. She turned another corner, and suddenly, a group of older boys appeared. They were hanging around a street corner, talking loudly and laughing. Hey, little girl, where are you going? One of them called out. Zoe felt a chill run down her spine. She didn't like the way they looked at her. I'm just going home, she replied, trying to sound brave. Home? Do you even know where you are? Another boy asked. Zoe shook her head and took a step back. She wished she had listened to Uncle Tunde and waited at the school office. She wished she had waited for her parents. Before she could react, One of the boys grabbed her school bags. "Hey, let's go," Zoe shouted, trying to pull away. But the boy was strong, and he snatched the bag out of her hands. Zoe stumbled backward and fell to the ground. Tears filled her eyes as she watched them search through her bag. Suddenly, a loud voice boomed, "Hey, leave her alone." It was Mr. Tunde, the school guard. He had followed Zoe, worried about her safety. The boy startled, dropped the bag and ran off. Mr. Tunde rushed to Zoe's side and helped her get up from the ground. "Are you okay, Zoe?" he asked, his face full of concern. Zoe nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry, Uncle Tunde. I should have listened to you." "It's okay, Zoe. The important thing is you're safe now. Let's get you home," he said, picking up her bag. Zoe nodded and held his hand tightly, grateful for his presence. She realized that sometimes it's better to wait for help than to try to do something on your own. Mr. Tunde walked with Zoe, trying to calm her down. She still felt shaken from the encounter with the boys, but Mr. Tunde's reassuring presence made her feel a bit safer. "Zoe, you are a brave girl," Mr. Tunde said as they walked. "But it's important to know when to ask for help." Zoe nodded, feeling a bit embarrassed. She didn't want to admit she had been scared, but she knew Mr. Tunde was right. They continued walking, but soon Mr. Tunde's phone rang. He answered it quickly and Zoe could hear the worried voice of her mother, Mrs. Smith, on the other end. Yes, I found her. We are on our way home now," he said into the phone. "No need to worry, she's safe." After hanging up, he turned to Zoe. "Your parents were worried about you. They'll be happy to see you safe." Zoe felt guilty for making her parents worry. "I am sorry, Uncle Tunde," she said. "It's okay, Zoe. Let's just get you home safely." As they walked, Mr. Tunde realized they could take a shortcut through a narrow path to save time. "This way is quicker," he said, leading Zoe through the path. Zoe followed, trusting him completely. As they walked through the narrow path, they heard footsteps behind them. Mr. Tunde turned around and saw a man following them. He looked suspicious, and Mr. Tunde's grip on Zoe's hand tightened. "Stay close to me, Zoe," he whispered. The man quickened his pace, and Mr. Tunde did the same, trying to stay ahead. But the road was long and the man seemed to be moving closer to them. Zoe's heart pondered in her heart. She was scared but tried to stay calm. Suddenly, the man stepped forward and grabbed Zoe's other arm. "Let her go," Mr. Tunde shouted, trying to pull her away. The man was strong, and Mr. Tunde could not overpower him. Zoe screamed for help, hoping someone would hear them. The man pushed Mr. Tunde to the ground and tried to drag Zoe away. But just then, a loud whistle pierced the air. Two policemen appeared at the end of the road, running towards them. The man, startled, let go of Zoe and tried to escape. But the policemen were too quick. They caught him and handcuffed him, dragging him away. Zoe ran to Mr. Tunde, who was getting up from the ground. "Are you okay, Uncle Tunde?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I'm fine," Zoe said, dusting himself off. "Thanks to you." The policeman came in time. The policeman approached them. "Is everything okay here?" one of them asked. "Yes, thank you, officers," Mr. Tunde replied. "You arrived just in time." The policeman nodded and escorted them out of the road. "Be careful and get home safely," one of them said. Zoe held tight to Mr. Tunde's hand, feeling grateful for his protection. She realized now more than ever the importance of staying safe and asking for help. Finally, they reached Zoe's house. Mr. Tunde knocked on the door and it flew open almost immediately. Mrs. Smith stood there, her face a mixture of worry and relief. "Zoe," she cried out, pulling her daughter into a tight hug. We were so worried about you. Mr. Smith appeared behind her, looking equally relieved. Thank you, Mr. Tunde, for bringing her home safely, he said, shaking the security guard's hand. It was no trouble at all, Mr. Tunde replied. Zoe is a brave girl, but it is important to be careful. Zoe looked up at her parents, feeling a bit embarrassed. I'm sorry, Mom, Dad. I didn't mean to worry you. Mrs. Smith hugged her again. We are just glad you're safe, Zoe. That's what matters, right? Mr. Smith nodded. Yes, we are very thankful. From now on, we'll make sure to pick you up on time. Zoe felt a sense of relief wash over her. She was home, safe with her family. She realized now how much they cared for her and how important it was to stay safe. Mr. Tunde said his goodbyes and left, and Zoe's parents led her inside. They sat down in the living room, and Zoe told them everything that had happened. We are so proud of you for being brave, Zoe, Mr. Smith said, but we also want you to know that it's okay to ask for help. Zoe nodded. I understand, Dad. Mrs. Smith smiled and hugged her again. We love you, Zoe. We never want anything bad to happen to you. I love you too, Mom, Dad, Zoe said, feeling a warmth in her heart. That night, as Zoe lay in bed, she thought about everything that had happened. She had learned an important lesson about safety and the importance of staying with trusted adults. She also realized how much her family loved her and how important it was to listen to them. The next day at school, Zoe felt a bit different. She had experienced something scary, but had come out stronger. She decided to share her story with her classmates during their morning assembly. Good morning, everyone, she began, her voice a bit shaky. I want to tell you about something that happened to me yesterday. The students listened attentively as Zoe recounted her adventure, from waiting at the school gate to the encounter with the boys and the scary man they met on the road. She told them how Mr. Tunde had saved her and how the policemen had helped. I learned that it is important to stay where you are supposed to and to ask for help if you need it, Zoe said. And I learned how much my family loves me and how important it is to listen to them. Her classmates clapped, and her teacher, Miss Ade, gave her a proud smile. Thank you for sharing your story, Zoe. It's a very important lesson for all of us. You were so brave, Zoe, said her best friend, and I don't know what I would have done. I was really scared, Zoe admitted, but I knew I had to be strong. After school, Zoe waited at the gate, feeling a bit anxious, but this time, she didn't have to wait long. Her parents arrived on time, and she ran to them, feeling a sense of security. Ready to go home? Mr. Smith asked with a smile. Yes, Dad, Zoe replied, holding his hand tightly. As they drive home, they talked about their day, and Zoe felt happy and safe. She knew now that her parents would always be there for her, and she promised herself to always listen to them and ask for help when needed. That evening, the family sat down for dinner, and Zoe shared more about her day at school. They laughed and talked, and Zoe felt a sense of warmth and love that made her heart full. Days passed, and life returned to normal for Zoe and her family. But the experience had left a lasting impact on her. She became more aware of her surroundings and more careful in her actions. Her parents, too, made sure to be more punctual and attentive. One day, at a school assembly, the principal, Mrs. Adebayo, announced a new safety program for students. We want to make sure all our students are safe and know what to do in case of an emergency, she said. And today, we have a special guest to talk to us about safety. To Zoe's surprise and delight, Mr. Tunde walked onto the stage, The students clapped and cheered for their beloved security guard. "Good morning, everyone," Mr. Tunde began. "I want to talk to you about the importance of safety and asking for help when you need it." He shared Zoe's stories with her permission and used it to highlight important safety tips. The student listened intently, and Zoe felt proud that her experience was helping others. After the assembly, Mr. Tunde approached Zoe. "You are a brave girl, Zoe," he said with a smile. "Thank you for letting me share your story." Zoe smiled back. "Thank you for saving me, Uncle Tunde." As the weeks went by, Zoe noticed changes at school. There were more security measures in place, and students were encouraged to speak up if they felt unsafe. Zoe felt proud to have been part of this positive change. At home, Zoe's family continued to show their love and support. They spent more time together, talking and sharing their thoughts and feelings. Zoe felt closer to her parents than ever before. One Saturday, as they sat in the living room, Mr. Smith looked at Zoe with a serious expression. "Zoe, we are very proud of you. We are very proud of how you handled everything that happened. You showed great courage and wisdom." Mrs. Smith nodded. "Yes, and we've learned a lot too. We'll always make sure to be there for you and keep you safe." Zoe smiled, feeling a warmth in her heart. "I love you, Mom, Dad. Thank you for everything." And she went to bed that night, feeling grateful for the love and support of her family.